Hey guys, welcome back. So, being the end of 2019 here, it also marks the end of our first full year of uploading on YouTube.
We started off in January going to Thailand. We were in Thailand for almost 2 months. After Thailand, we went to Bali. We were in Bali for almost 2 months. And then after that, we came back to Canada about May, and we RV'd all the way across Canada to the most eastern point of all of North America and back. So it's been a big year of traveling in YouTube for us here. And we have our top 10 moments picked out, and we're gonna look through them right now with you guys here.
So let's get into it, and we'll start here with number 10.
So, number 10 for us here is the CABOT Trail. When we first started heading east across Canada, we didn't have a whole lot of expectations in mind, but the CABOT Trail was definitely one of the things we had heard about and we're really looking forward to. It was a super beautiful drive. We got to drive through a whole bunch of cute little Eastern Canada Atlantic towns, and we really enjoyed that. And there was a whole bunch of beautiful views on the way, even a bunch of pullovers we pulled over and took advantage of.
Yeah, so if you didn't know, the CABOT Trail is one of the most famous kind of like road trip drives in the world, I'm pretty sure, and it definitely lived up to its expectations. It's really cool being able to drive along the ocean and cliffs on one side, ocean on the other, and then just like up into the forest where it's like really cliffy, and then some really cool viewpoints as well where it's just like you're on a cliff looking over the ocean, and it's really amazing. So I think it took us about 2 days to do the CABOT Trail. We did a whole bunch of driving and then stopped a night at one of the little harbor towns there. And on the way home, back through Canada, we actually went through the CABOT Trail again because it was just so beautiful. So we had a ton of fun up there. Really recommend it. So one of the more popular things to do on the CABOT Trail is actually to hike the Skyline Trail. It's a super popular trail. It's very busy, but it's totally worth it.
Really awesome.
So the hike takes you through kind of like a fern forest and then more of like a wooded forest, and then it takes you out to this giant cliff that you can walk down, and it's so amazing.
Yeah, really beautifully done. It's a really easy little hike to do. It wasn't too long. And then after doing all of the hike, we started making our way around the loop through the forest a bit more, and we saw our first moose in our whole trip across Canada.
Yeah, there were 2 moose just so up close, and we were able to get really close up to them and take some video. It was so cool.
Yeah, that was definitely one of the highlights for sure, as we've never even seen a wild moose before, I don't believe, so.
Yeah.
CABOT Trail, thank you very much. So, jumping into number 9, it's Koh Phangan in Thailand. Koh Phangan is one of the little tropical islands of Thailand. It's not actually located on mainland Thailand itself. And we had already been in Thailand for about 3 weeks. We hadn't been swimming, we hadn't been to the beach, so getting to this tropical little island was perfect. We had a beach bungalow right on the beach. They were separate little bungalows, they were affordable, they had nice showers, good air conditioning, and it was just a perfect little stroll right down to the beach. We loved it there.
Yeah, so this was kind of our first Thai island that we went to. After this we went to a bunch of other Thai islands and did some island hopping, but this was actually one of our favorites. The beach there was so amazing and the waves were to die for. So pretty much every single day we were out on the beach just playing in the waves because it was just so much fun, and why not?
Yeah, the waves were like over your head sometimes. It was like being in a natural wave pool. It was super cool there, guys.
The beach was also great too because since we were right on the beach, I was able to go out in the morning and just do some morning yoga on the beach. So peaceful, so relaxing. Ugh, I want to go back.
Yeah, we had even planned it so it was a quieter time of the year there on the beach, so a little extra space to ourselves as well.
Yeah.
Also staying at those bungalows, Thailand has quite a few stray animals, but I managed to make friends with a few cats. We had been missing our cat back home, so we had some kitties come and become friends on our patio, and even a stray dog. He was a little dirty, but gotta love the animals.
Yeah, Luke's such an animal lover. He even like gave the cats little dishes of water to drink out of. So cute.
They were nice though.
And then on our last night on the island there, to kind of wrap up our experience, we decided to go have a sunset dinner on the cliff, which was seriously breathtaking. I've never seen a sunset quite that pretty, and to have our table like on the cliff overlooking the sunset and the ocean was seriously amazing.
Yeah, it was one of those restaurant experiences that you can never pay for in a big city or in a big popular tourist area. It was us and maybe 1 or 2 other couples there, only in just a small little restaurant, but beautiful view of the whole island, the most amazing sunset you could ever imagine. If only we had a better camera to even do it better justice, but I mean, you can see the footage here, guys. It was a phenomenal dinner and view.
Yeah.
Alright, so number 8 on our list is the sand dunes of Saskatchewan. We didn't really know much about this, and we actually kind of found out about it last minute, but it actually ended up being one of the highlights of the prairies, I would say, at least.
We didn't even really plan on going here. I'm pretty sure Luke had just looked on Google Maps and saw this like big green area that said the Great Sand Dunes, and we had to go.
Yeah, it wasn't even a provincial park or anything, but it was about a half an hour of gravel roads down some farm roads out there. And then once you got near the sand dunes themselves, the road just turned to pure like beach sand. So we had to keep our foot on the gas. We were swerving around the dirt road to get there. Didn't want to lose our speed and get stuck. So that was a little bit of an adventure to get out to the Great Sand Dunes at least.
As a passenger, it was absolutely horrible. It was a horrible drive because the whole time I was just so scared that we were gonna get stuck in the sand and have to call a tow truck out to like the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, it was definitely a bit of an adventure compared to the typical highway driving we had done previously.
So once we got to the sand dune area, we decided to climb up the hill next to the sand dunes and check out Boot Hill. It was this really cool, like huge arbor that had a bunch of cowboy boots stuck to it. And I guess all of the cowboy boots that were there were the old caretaker's boots. So it was really cool to go up there, take some pictures, and enjoy Boot Hill before we headed over to the big sand dune.
Yeah, there was giant rolling hills of sand dunes that were super tall, and they would drop off on a steep cliff, and it was just regular prairies with tumbleweedy type bushes there. So we ran around on the sand hill. There was a big wind kind of gust blowing, so the sand was blowing down over the hills kind of like a desert, and that was our first desert experience of our lives besides beaches, I would say. So that was pretty fun in the sand.
Yeah, it was a super cool experience to just like run up and down the sand dunes and just have fun out there in like the random sand. It was so fun.
Made for a good adventure, and we didn't get stuck.
Alright, so number 7 on our list is the Newfoundland ferry. So we find ferries pretty fun in general.
Yep.
We have the BC ferry here in BC that goes to Vancouver Island, and we always really enjoy going on that ferry, but this ferry was unique because it took us 7 hours on the ferry to get to Newfoundland.
So when we arrived at the ferry, we had about an hour, hour and a half to do the docking process. They guided us on nice and easy with the motorhome. It was no problems at all, and that was our first ferry with the RV as well. So that was super cool, and we caught a beautiful sunset on the way to Newfoundland, and we arrived at nighttime, and that made for just a big surprise of waking up the next morning surrounded by a new terrain and all the rocks. And then on the way back, we had just the most beautiful middle of the day. We could see all of the little port and actually what we had arrived at least on the way in the ferry, so it was cool to see it on the daytime as well since we had arrived at nighttime, and it really made a great way to kind of start and stop Newfoundland with that epic ferry ride.
It was a really unique experience being on a ferry in the middle of the ocean for 7 whole hours. And the only thing is you're not allowed to go back to your vehicle once you leave it. So we had to leave Kitty in there alone for 7 hours, so we left her with all her food and water and everything she needed, and she kept the RV safe for us.
So, number 6 on our list is going to be GROS National Park in Newfoundland.
So one of the more unique parts about GROS National Park are the tablelands. It's one of the only places in the world where the Earth's mantle actually is visible from the surface of the Earth. So usually when mountains are formed, like the Earth's crust will go up and form a mountain, but here in the tablelands, the layer below the Earth's crust, the mantle, is actually poking through and you can see it. So it's super cool to be able to go there and experience it and see all of these really unique rocks that are really red because of the oxidation of the iron that's in the rocks.
Another thing we did in GROS was this hike called the Big Lookout. It was about a 2-hour hike, and it took you to the top of a mountain by the Visitor Info Center, and you could get a complete view of the tablelands on one side and all of the fjord on the other side. And while we started our way up the mountainside, we seen a big moose print in the mud, and then right near the top of the lookout, we actually seen a moose grazing. We had to use binoculars and couldn't really get any great footage of it because it was off on the mountainside, but another moose besides CABOT Trail, guys.
And to top it all off, in GROS National Park as well, we were able to actually boondock at Trout River, which is a tiny, tiny, tiny little town in this amazing little bay area.
Crazy.
Seriously, it was amazing. We got to boondock right on the edge of town, overlooking the town and overlooking the bay. Seriously, so nice.
It was like a picture-perfect little harbor Newfoundland town. The name doesn't give you much hope with Trout River, but when you got there, guys, that was beautiful there. We loved it.
5 on our list is clamming in Prince Edward Island. This was seriously so much fun. I guess PEI is famous for its red sand, which is also apparently a really good habitat for the clams as well.
We made a little water jug we had into a little clamming bucket. We had a little measuring tape on the side, holes in the bottom so the water would drain out, and it worked perfect. We just went down to the beach, happened to use our hands, and we dug in the sand with our hands. We had a shovel, but we didn't want to risk hitting the clam shells with our shovel, so just stuck to using our hands. But originally we found a razor clam, and we found that they actually have quahog clams as well, so we caught 2 different types of clams over there and really gave us a kind of unique experience on Prince Edward Island besides just camping and driving around like we had been used to doing.
Yeah, we really enjoy fishing as well, and although fishing was fun, it was fun to get out and kind of do a different hobby of like harvesting our own clams and just getting onto the beach and having some fun.
So, number 4 is going to be Gili Air. We went to Gili Air, which is actually part of Lombok, but we put it in our Bali travel vlog series, but it is the second smallest of the Gili Islands, and we loved it there. The unique thing about this place, they don't allow any motors on the island, so once we arrived by boat, we had to take a horse-drawn carriage halfway around the island. It's a small island luckily, but with our luggage through all these cute little town stalls and everything right along the beach, and it was such a unique experience not having cars and taxis and everything around like we had been used to in Bali otherwise.
Yeah, no cars, no motorcycles, no scooters. The only way to get around is walking, bicycle, and horses. So once we got to our hotel, we checked out our room, and seriously, I was in love. Our hotel was right on the beach, which is honestly pretty hard not to be on the beach when you're on Gili Air because it's so small. But the really cool part about our hotel room was that our bathroom was outside. It was so cool to have our shower outside and being able to shower and like look up at the palm trees and showering at night, looking up at the stars. It was so nice.
Beautiful there.
So one of my favorite parts about Gili Air was the beaches and the sunsets on the beaches. We got some beautiful sunsets when we were in Gili Air, and it's just like such a nice vibe. Everything is so relaxed and chill, and nobody's in a hurry to do anything there. It's a very different vibe than I've ever experienced ever, which made Gili Air such a unique place to be and why it made our list.
We ended up renting some bikes. I believe they cost $5 or $10 a day. We could actually keep them right at our hotel room with a little bike chain lock they provided for us, but again, crystal clear turquoise waters. We could bike around the whole island in about 45 minutes, I believe it was. It was a little tough in the sand, mind you. We had a hard time biking through some of the deep sand spots. That kind of made for a little bit of an adventure. Small island, we biked over to all the restaurant strips, and it didn't even have any big franchises there. It was all just local families who were actually mostly raised on the island. A few came over from Lombok, but got a really good kind of local vibe compared to some of the places that are full of big franchises and the regular tourist kind of resorts. Really good local vibe, and we loved it on Gili Air.
Alright, so number 3 on our list is actually just our first day of RVing on our cross Canada road trip. So this was kind of an amazing day for us. Not only were we super excited to be starting our big adventure in our RV, but it was just a great day in general. We were starting to head east across Canada, which means that we were driving towards the Rocky Mountains, and seriously the views were amazing. We were driving through Glacier National Park and getting close to Yoho National Park, and the mountains were perfectly snow-capped. It was like the perfect time of year to be doing that drive. Seriously, just looking back at this footage makes me miss it so much.
And after such a beautiful drive, we found a recreation campsite, which is free camping in BC, so we didn't have to pay for our campsite. We ended up getting a camping spot right along a beautiful blue glacial river. You can see the snow-capped mountains. And again, like the most picture-perfect campsite I think you could ask for. On our first day of our cross-Canada trip, which had over 100 nights of camping and boondocking in our RV, and it all started on day 1 with just a beautiful spot, so what a great way to start that summer trip off.
And we were able to use our drone and get some really amazing drone shots. I think these are one of my favorite group of drone shots that we've ever gotten, and it was all in this first couple days of our road trip, which just topped it all off.
So nice, guys. So, number 2, you know it had to make it, but when we got to interact with the elephants in Chiang Mai, Thailand, we took about an hour ride up into the mountainside. We went to an elephant sanctuary, not an elephant kind of zoo or anything like that. It was an actual sanctuary where we got to go and meet the elephants, learn a bit about their backstories, and then we got to wash some bananas and actually hand feed the elephants.
It was so much fun feeding the elephants. You could either like give the elephant the banana in its trunk and it would eat it itself, or if you gave it to them right to their mouth, you could feed them directly, and it was so fun just like putting this banana on their gigantic tongue and watching them eat it. I don't know why that was so interesting to me, but it was so much fun.
They were pushy though. They would stick their trunk in there with their big vacuum nose and try and get at you if you weren't careful, so they like their bananas apparently, those elephants.
And even just going up and petting the elephants, I mean, it was so cool to be so up close and personal with these giant animals and just being able to pamper them, really.
Yeah, they deserve it.
So the really neat part about the sanctuary that we went to is that they're all about rehabilitating the elephants. So they'll rescue the elephants from places where they're not being treated right. So I know a lot of the elephants are used for logging, like bringing large logs out of the forest, or entertainment reasons and elephant rides, things like that. And this one elephant that they had there, it was actually so sad because they rescued him after he had stepped on an active landmine. So one of his feet were like completely destroyed by this landmine and he had such a hard time walking around, but it made it all worth it to be able to feed him lots of bananas and make him all happy.
Yeah, we spoiled that one a little bit extra just because of that reason. After we were done feeding and interacting with the elephants, we got to take them down to this mud hole and kind of throw some mud on them and play with them there. I guess they like having mud on their backs because it helps protect them from the sun, kind of like a sunscreen layer for them. So we threw some buckets of mud on them, we got to throw some buckets of water on them and play in the water with them there. And it was such a good time, guys.
Yeah, we took them down to the river after and rinsed them off with water. It was so much fun just like throwing buckets of water on them and seeing how much they loved it. It was really cool too because they were having fun in the water, like wrestling with each other, but also they were like splashing the water and getting us wet, and they'd like put water in their tongues and like spray it on us. It was seriously like, it was a dream. I wish I could do that all over again.
And our #1 memory of 2019, guys, you guessed it, when we finished going all the way east across Canada to Cape Spear, Newfoundland. Obviously this was the big goal of our RVing trip this summer, and it was picture perfect along the way. We arrived at Cape Spear, Newfoundland, which is the most eastern point of not only Canada, but all of North America, and it was right near the capital of Newfoundland at St. John's as well. We actually boondocked and spent the night in that parking lot there.
It was such a great feeling to have finally arrived at Cape Spear and have crossed the entire country with our RV. Just thinking about it makes me so happy about like how we felt when we were there and how much fun it was. Not only was it the farthest eastern point in North America, which was a really cool spot to be in itself, but there was a really cool lighthouse and cliffs, and it made for like a really fun spot to be at. Since we had stayed the night at Cape Spear, it was really cool waking up and seeing all the fog there. I guess St. John's is the foggiest city in all of Canada, and I'd believe it because the amount of fog that we saw that morning was insane.
After we spent the day at Cape Spear, we made our way slightly over to Signal Hill, which is just up the bay from there, but it's actually an iconic spot as well because it's where the first transatlantic telegraph was sent over in, I believe, the early 1900s by Marconi, but kind of made a little bit of a unique stop as well for the most eastern point of Canada. We got a little magnet and it was a pretty official spot, guys.
Yeah, and the views up from Signal Hill were great too because you could see the whole bay and where we had spent the night at Cape Spear, but you could also see all the views of St. John's as well.
Such a beautiful city there.
Alright, so those are our favorite moments of 2019. Let us know in the comments down below what your favorite moment of the year was, and we'd be really interested to see what you guys liked the most of our travel year.
Yeah, 2019 was a big year for us. Our first year of big full-time travels. Our first year on YouTube basically to this point, uploading consistently. So a big thank you to you guys tuning in 2019 as well. Hopefully 2020 can be just as big and good of a year. So be sure to subscribe for more adventures in 2020 to come. Give the video a like if you haven't, and we will catch you guys in 2020 then. Happy New Year's and see you in the next one.
Bye!
Bye!